Hi guys, welcome back. So I wanted to talk about how to stay healthy if you're doing manual labor jobs. So if you're working outside, you're working hard, how do you keep up so that your body doesn't kind of wear down over time, and how do you keep yourself strong and energized? So most important thing is sleep, right? The research has come out in the last few years, and you can look into that more, and I'm going to hopefully have a video more in depth about that, but you have to be getting enough sleep, which means 7 to 9 hours a night. You can't be doing work like that outside all day, getting 6 hours of sleep or less. I did that for a while. I was young and my health still plummeted doing that. Highly recommend you do not do that. Even if you think you can get away with it, it happens once in a while, it's fine. But on average, you need to be getting enough sleep. So that's very important. That is the number one priority over anything else I'll say, even diet, even, of course, any supplements, anything like that. Get enough sleep. So that's number one. Number two is hydration, right? So a lot of people know to drink lots of water. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't do it, but everyone knows about it. But what people don't know is that you actually do need you need enough salt intake for the water to actually be efficient, right? So if you just sat here and just drank water all day and had no salt, it would actually dehydrate you. You can look into this on your own, how the process works, but essentially the way your cells work, they use sodium, they use potassium to actually function properly, right? So putting just, let's say you have a 1 liter or 2 liter water bottle you bring to work, putting just like a little pinch of salt in there into the water, along with the other thing is trace minerals, will help you so much. It'll give you a lot more energy to have energy as you're working throughout the day and not come home just feeling like your muscles are dead. Okay. So the next thing, if we're on the topic of kind of that sort of thing, is supplements. So I'm going to give you 3 basic ones that you can get at any health food store. Hopefully I'm going to make a video going more in depth about all the different herbs and what I recommend and the stuff I've tried and what works for me, at least, and from what I've heard, and I've done a lot of research about that. But not to overwhelm you, 3 simple things that I think everybody should be taking, because in a very short way, I want to say that because of the farming practices we have today, our soil is essentially destroyed. You may or may not know, but food actually gets its nutrition from the minerals in the soil and is dependent on soil health, right? And we're kind of destroying that. So a lot of food you eat doesn't have the minerals that it used to, right? If you look at the nutritional content of food today, like a potato today versus 100 years ago, there's a vast difference, right? So I'll get onto nutrition in a second, but 2 minerals that I recommend, technically 3. So the first one is zinc, very popular today. Everyone knows it's good for immunity. For men, it's also good for fertility, and women. And try to get it with copper, right? So most animal sources like liver and oysters, which have high levels of zinc, also tend to have copper. If zinc gets too high actually in the body, then it will start to deplete copper levels, and vice versa. If the copper levels are too high, it'll deplete zinc. So you want one with a good ratio. Like this one is 5 to 1, which seems to be the best ratio that you can get. So this is zinc picolinate with copper, okay? The next one you want to get is magnesium, right? So magnesium is arguably the most important mineral in the body. It's responsible for hundreds, if not thousands, of enzymatic reactions in the body, right? And that means it's essentially like enzymatic reactions and processes in the body are responsible for the functioning of our body, right? It's not all about protein, right? Protein would be like an office building, but the building is useless. That's the structure. But the building is useless without the people working in it, right? Which is all the enzymes and hormones and all these things happening in our body that give us energy and allow us to function. So magnesium is responsible for a lot of those. It's the first mineral to be depleted when you're stressed. So I highly recommend you get some magnesium in. Take it in the morning and the evening, not when the sun is out, because some research shows that magnesium intake can actually disrupt vitamin D intake. So if you're working outside all day, you want to get the benefit of vitamin D as well. The ones I recommend are magnesium glycinate and magnesium threonate. I'll put those in the description too, so you can see that. And make sure to check actually what's in, like if they haven't, some of these magnesiums, they actually mix it and it's like a mix of different types. So be sure to check that before you buy it. The last one here is a herb. It's called Rodiola. So Rhodiola is actually one of the herbs the Vikings took to stay strong. There's two types of Rhodiola, but that's not important. The main Rhodiola that you're going to find at a health food store is the Scandinavian version. The other is Tibetan. So the Tibetan type of Rhodiola deals more with mental and emotional stress, whereas Rodiola Rosea, which is the is it Rosea? Yeah, Rosea, which is the Viking herb, is helps you deal with physical stress. So essentially, if you're working outside all day, physical labor, that's going to help you. It's going to help you just adapt to that level of work more. A lot of people find it works really well for them. I find it works well for me as well. So those are the 3 supplements I recommend. So now if we move on to nutrition, I don't want to spend too long on this because this is something you have to go in depth with, I think. But in simple terms, honestly, there's a big trend of people who work manual labor jobs, work trade jobs, and they eat like shit. I don't know how else to put it. You know, of course, you're tired. It's easy. It's convenient to go to McDonald's or whatever. But the thing is it's going to hurt you in the long run, right? You don't have to go crazy with it, but just try to eat whole foods, right? You can then do research about what kind of diet you want to eat. But I just recommend the best quality, pasture raised, ideally organic if you can, meats and egg and dairy. If you can get access to raw dairy, that's fantastic. But if you can't, maybe only like limit your dairy if it's pasteurized. It's not the best. But yeah, good quality meat, eggs, wild caught fish. Try to find fish that are lower in mercury, so smaller fish in a general sense. Good fruits and vegetables, again, from a good source, ideally from a local farm that is not spraying them with shit, right? Because you have to understand, like, pesticides, like, they end up on the food when they're farmed in this way. And essentially, pesticide is an antibiotic, right? So if it ends up in your digestive tract, it's going to essentially kill your own microbiome. What does that mean? It means you have bacteria in your digestive tract that helps you digest food and helps you stay healthy. You need that bacteria, and these things kill that bacteria. It also strips minerals from the body, so if you're taking minerals, then you're just wasting money at that point, and also you're not getting proper mineralization in the body. So highly recommend just the best quality food that you can afford and get your hands on. In the long term, you're gonna feel a lot better. It's worth it. So we covered minerals, we covered food, we covered supplements a little bit, sleep. So the last thing is for your muscles, if they're sore, I recommend if you can find some sort of stick, it can be literally a broomstick. One of the best things for when your muscles are sore, like people always try to massage the deep muscles, but this takes quite a bit of work, and honestly it doesn't always necessarily release the tension in the muscles, because for muscular tension to release, the nervous system has to release, right? Because it's actually the nerves that hold tension. So if you can release the nerves, that will actually relax you a lot more than, digging into the muscles, which might actually cause more tension, right? So what you want to do, like, let's say I'm just watching TV at the end of the day, I'm relaxing, grab a stick and just start to like slide it over the skin, right? And what this is going to do, not only does it feel good, which will naturally relax the nerves, but it'll start to relax the fascia, which lies in between the skin and the muscles. And the fascia is which actually holds a lot of the tension that we have, right? So if your legs are sore, instead of at first, like, you can dig in later to your muscles, but instead of just digging into them, just go over them like this. And it's a very like mindless thing that you can do. You literally you can watch TV. I'm not asking you to do anything crazy. And go over, like, don't rub on the bones, but you can go over the bones too, the foot, and you can go over the whole leg. You can take it and rub your arms, your shoulders a little bit, right? And it actually is quite relaxing. You feel really good after. And then if after you've done the whole body like that, and there's no set technique, you're just finding what's sore and just relaxing it, then you can go a little bit more like with your hand and kind of dig in, or you can even actually use the stick and find those knots and kind of work them out. with the stick. You don't have to do this every night, but if you find that you're very sore all the time from work and you're having a hard time keeping up, you feel like your body's not keeping up with the workload, I recommend doing these things. Get a good night's sleep, try to get some magnesium. That would be the most important one out of those herbs, but then the zinc, then the rhodiola. Try to look at your diet, see like, how is your digestion, right? How do you feel after you eat, these sorts of things, and maybe modifying it. If it's really hot out and you're working, then try to eat earlier in the morning if you can, and then try not to eat a big heavy lunch at work. Then try to bring lots of fluids and fruit, fresh fruit, right? If it's cold out and you're working outside, then think of trying to incorporate things like broths that you make maybe on the weekend, and then you section it off for the week, right? So you just have to make it in one go on Sunday night, and then you section it off to keep you warm when you're working. These sorts of like little things that you can plan. And then like massaging your muscles like this are really good. And the last thing would be to taking warm and cold showers, alternating. Obviously warm feels really nice on sore muscles, and so does cold, because cold will not only does it feel nice after a hot day when you're working outside, but it helps remove inflammation from the body. So if you're trying to put on muscle, some research shows that you actually don't want to take a cold shower within the first few hours, like 4 to 5 hours after the workout, because the inflammation response is what actually puts on strength. But if you're working outside all day, it's not necessarily the kind of work that will like put on mass, even though you get really strong. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, and I would say that the benefit of removing the inflammation, the pain, and like what the cold shower does for you is worth it. So I hope this helps. This was just a quick guide. I'm hoping to do like a longer video on this, on sleep, on nutrition coming forward, but I just want to get these things out for you if you're working outside. That's just kind of what I was thinking about today at my own job, as to like what has been helping me and what could help other people too. So take care.